Oh, yes, indeed. Welcome on into a Philly Voice Sports Bets Wednesday edition between Christmas and New Year's. And we've endured a lot of bad bowl games up until this point, but I think the tide is starting to turn, gentlemen, as today it starts to get a little bit more competitive and interesting and bettable from a bowl standpoint. So we got that going for us. We got Thursday night football coming up. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the Tennessee Titans, who have just gone into the toilet over the last 5 weeks and really are just not a viable football team. It's amazing the way their season has gone, where beginning of the year, September, October, they were looking like a force like they have been in the AFC. And now they're just, they're basically the Houston Texans, whom they lost to last week. So do we want to look back at that god-awful football game on Monday night? The only thing that was positive for me was the fact that I do a halftime betting show for the second half, and we jumped in on Chargers minus 7.5, under for the team total for Indianapolis, which was 12.5, and under for the game, which was 33.5 at that point on DraftKings, and all three of those hit. But other than that, that game was awful.
Look, man, 5 for 5 this weekend from Thursday through Monday, and I did the math. 6 of 7, 8 of 10, 9 of 12, 10 of 14 of the last first half field goal each team have hit.
And
let me tell you this, it's never less than, I've never bet this less than plus 120.
So, and that's BetMGM, right?
BetMGM, it's the only place I can find it, right? Other places will try to hit you with like 2+ exact field goals or something. So that was fine. The only issue that I had was I live bet Bowling Green plus 5.5, and they wound up losing by 6. So that cut in, and that and Jelani Woods to score a touchdown, which didn't happen. But the first half field, look, I played it again for Dallas. It's at plus 140, or at least it was. It was at plus 140 for Dallas. So I'm going to keep playing this in prime time until BetMGM, not even the books, but BetMGM catches up. Look, the reason why I say that is because this made that game interesting. That thing hit in the final kick right
before half.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So if you have a dog shit primetime game, this is a great play now. That's all I'm saying.
Keeps you interested.
Yes, it does.
It was absolutely right up to the final second of that first half. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, if we're looking back, I mean, I hit that Austin Eckler anytime touchdown, but I felt kind of like ashamed.
He scored 2, didn't he?
He did. Being that was the only action in that game, I was like, I really picked that one. Glad to take that W, but then we got hooked. His over 4.5 receptions, he just sat at 4. Yeah. There were a couple opportunities, but it just didn't come around. But the anytime touchdown had us right. And honestly, tonight I was looking at field goals for Brett Maher, but instead of that, the value, I mean, you're looking at like minus 165. Yeah. So the value of it is really just to go with that kicking play. It's always seemed to be the better play and the better option in terms of value.
The reemergence of I lost my train of thought.
Offense kicking.
Yeah, the wide receiver that was back for the Chargers, Keenan Allen. The reemergence of Keenan Allen really took away from Austin Eckler's targets, and you found that early on because Herbert was just looking for Keenan Allen over the middle, and it was just like boom, boom, boom.
It feels like at some point or another, I mean, obviously Austin Eckler is a great running back, but they don't use him in a type of
they don't run the ball at all.
Like, it's going to come back to haunt them eventually, that they are such a pass-happy team. And, like, Herbert's fantastic. He's obviously great, got a fantastic arm, but how far can a pass-only offense get you? I don't know.
I think they're one and done in the playoffs. It's nice that they made it. It's sort of a move up because they are a good team. They need a couple of other elements to that. Offensive line is bad. I mean, he's constantly on the run. Losing their left tackle early in the year really hurt them. And they need to bolster that offensive line, and they need to run the football to take a little bit of the onus off of this kid. He is amazing, but maybe they get Bosa back here too. Who knows? And that defense. You saw that they can make plays against mediocre offenses at least.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a tough game because you're going up against a backup quarterback on a desperate team, and you're doing anything you can to avoid being that team, being that squad that Stephen A. Kellerman is yelling about the next day. This is a disaster. Like you're just trying to avoid being that team, especially on prime time. But I'm with you. I agree that this is a one and done team in the playoffs. They're dangerous, but it doesn't seem like. And here's another thing too. I don't trust their coach.
No,
I don't. In a key spot where they need coaching or a decision, I don't know if I trust them either.
I know. He's backed off on that 4th down and 5. Let's go for it anywhere kind of mentality. But that could rear its head in a playoff game when he gets desperate and they got a 4th and 4 in their own end, and he decides to go for it. Incomplete pass. Boom. Game over.
I mean, you look back last season, they could have had a playoff opportunity. And in that game against the Raiders, it just came down to a coaching mistake. So it's like quite literally, when your playoff hopes were on the line, your coach took them away from you. So, I don't trust Brendan Staley at all.
All right, Thursday Night Football, Dallas laying 10 points now against this Tennessee Titans team. It does seem like a lot. Tennessee just has nothing going on offense. You know, Dallas is going to go in there and key on Derrick Henry, and try to make Malik Willis will the team to at least a couple of points to stay within the spread. I don't think there's any chance that Tennessee has to win this football game. Are you willing to lay 10 points with Dak Prescott on the road?
This is what I'm going to do. Thankfully, the news came down today on a Wednesday that we can incorporate this into a play. I don't have an issue laying 10. I do have an issue teasing down to 3 because that's gonna just most likely push a leg. Like if it's 9.5, I think there's extreme value in getting it below 3. What I do think actually has some value here is pushing Tennessee up to 17. Now you're covered at 14, you're covered at 8, you're covered at 7, you're covered at 6, you're covered at 4, you're covered at 3. But the reality is that you're really covered at 14, which is a bigger key number than 10. So I think at home on a short week with a defense that can still pressure the quarterback, maybe not so stop a quarterback in the air. Also a guy on the other side who can run against Dallas. I'm willing to tease them up to 17 and keep them at 14. All right, now we need a dance partner, right?
Right.
Somebody I don't think there is a better option at all to tease this week than the Cleveland Browns. They're going up against a quarterback who is not good, and in a situation where they need him to play, Harry and Matt. It's like, hey, not only do we need you to start, Carson Wentz, but we need you to win. I don't trust Carson Wentz in that spot.
Why would you?
So I think the Browns now at +8 and the Titans at +17 would be how I play that, Harry.
Okay, how about a 3-teamer?
Oh, you can't help yourself.
I mean, come on. I cannot help myself because I'm staring at the Minnesota Vikings +3 against Green Bay. Take them up to 10 and add in a third dance partner.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think that Green Bay blows out Minnesota.
I love Green Bay. I honestly, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking over these past few weeks, I'm like, Green Bay might be my playoff type of sleeper because it's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, come on.
I don't know. They've been impressive these past few weeks. Are the Vikings going to continue to Viking? Come playoff time?
Do they have to Viking if they're getting 10?
I don't know. I mean, no, in that sense, you're definitely safer. But
what kind of number can we get with all that? Dallas or Tennessee +17.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now.
Cleveland +9.
Right.
Which I love that because I'm totally with you on the Carson Wentz situation. And because that ship has sailed, along with Nick Foles, too, by the way. Oh, my goodness. I mean, did we see more of the drunken giraffe than we can handle Monday night? He was, granted, they got no offensive line either. And Quentin Nelson, can't even block anybody anymore on that line. But my God, was he awful.
Right.
And then take the Vikings up to 10. I think that's an interesting one. People love these, these big shots here. I didn't say moon.
No, I talked to the moonshot yesterday.
He took a shot at me, by the way, on Twitter, which I love.
Did he?
Yes, because Sunday night I was ripping the fact that they were making a big deal out of Trace McSorley. They were making him out to be a starting quarterback.
Yeah,
and he's a Penn State honk. So he came in and blasted me with show some respect.
Nice. Is that a Bruno? Is it who came out with that?
What?
Show some respect.
I don't know, but it was funny. And if you talk to him, tell him I appreciated it.
I will. And the response should have been, well, what happened to that 2-unit over 20.5 rushing yard prop that you gave out on the Discord? Holy shit. All right. Look, Dak Prescott's going to throw an interception. He's thrown one in 4 or 5 straight games.
Yep.
I mean, he also only played 10 games this year, and he's thrown at least one interception in 8 of 10 games.
That is
it's really hard for me to think that even due to circumstance, he's not going to throw it again. So I jumped in on that one as well. Over a half interception on DraftKings at -115.
I can't believe it's -115. Honestly, yeah, I was thinking like -150 at this point.
Yeah, or over 1.5 interceptions at plus money.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the secondary of the Titans, honestly, they have some young talent back there, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were able to get 2 off on them. But 1 is just, honestly, that's a lock, in my opinion. Dak Prescott in primetime just seems to always, make these types of mistakes. And like you're saying, he's only played 10 games this year, and the guy just seems to be throwing an interception every other drive. So I like that one a lot. I was also looking ahead to the 49ers covering the -6 against the Raiders. I think the Raiders are getting a couple points, obviously, just because they're at home. But overall, I think the pieces that this 49ers team has are just ultimately too much for them. And I think Kyle Shanahan is the smartest coach by far in this game. And I think ultimately he's going to will them and Brock Purdy to cover this 6.
Interesting. I like that. Now I'm looking at a +6. If you give it a 6.3 team teaser on DraftKings, it only nets you +160.
Which team? What's the third team still?
The Titans, Browns, and Minnesota.
Yeah,
That's
look,
at 6
I don't
points.
mind. I don't mind laying 120 for a 6.2 leg teaser. I know that's not like, it needs to be +2,000 parlay. But
well, that's what
by the way,
people want, Tom.
On Sunday.
Oh yeah.
We didn't talk about this on Monday.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, the parlay that he hit. The Tampa Bay Bucks screwed him with the team total. And everyone's bringing up.
Yeah.
That was the one I was concerned about.
I was hit 3 of the 4 legs, though, right?
Yeah.
3 of 3 on Saturday, Christmas Eve. I was feeling myself. Going into the 25th, I was like, we got one more leg to hit, and I'm coming on, and I'm giving everybody hell because the hardest ones, it seems, have been done. I really thought that the Tampa Bay leg was going to be the easier of the 4, and just to see them come out and absolutely squander, like you heard all the headlines leading up to this game. Tom Brady's got his receivers back. They're looking to air out the offense a little bit more. They want to get the passing tempo up, and then he comes out and he has 70 yards in the first half, and I'm sitting here just like, there's no way we get 20 plus, from this guy come third and fourth quarter.
You got 19.
That definitely hurt. Yeah. We got hooked. I mean, even at the end, I was sitting there with that total, and I was like, even if, this was to go into overtime, we're not hitting 24. So unfortunate.
All right. Well, 3 out of 4 is not too bad. But
if you're round robin.
Now, I saw where the Eagles line is up to 7. Does that give you guys any indication that you think Jalen Hurts is actually going to play?
No, because I think it opened at that, right? Like, I don't know if there's any movement or what movement there was.
But it came back down to 6 and then 6.5, and now it's back up to 7.
Yeah. So for me, if Jalen Hurts plays, this is at least a 10-point line at home, right? I mean, you're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles team that won all but one game with him, against the Saints team that I think it's way too overreactionary to see what they did last week. It was a really strong matchup that favored them against Cleveland as opposed to just being good. Right. And they really don't match up well at all against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I looked at that as just Gardner Minshew movement. Like the fact that it's only been a point and it hasn't crossed through 7 is an indication to me that Jalen Hurts will not play, especially after the ESPN thing that came. I think it was ESPN or local, whoever was intimating that the Eagles are concerned whether or not he could play against the Giants right now in the final game of the regular season. So I don't think he plays at all this week.
All right. Well, I still think they can cover that 7 against the Saints. I mean, they gave up a 3rd and 30 They gave up a 3rd and 30 to T.Y. Hilton, and if Quez Watkins has any kind of balls and fights for that ball, that interception doesn't happen. I think Minshew's good enough to beat the Saints by 10 points.
Truthfully,
at home.
I think Minshew's the better quarterback out of the two. Truthfully, I was thinking already Andy Dalton interception. I mean, what have we seen from Andy Dalton? He hasn't
been horrible though this year.
He hasn't been horrific, but then again, like I look at Gardner Minshew as being a serviceable quarterback. After last week, I still think if he wasn't a Philadelphia Eagle, he might be able to find a starting position in the NFL. So I think Andy Dalton and Gardner Minshew could very easily switch shoes and still be the same type of quarterback. So I like Andy Dalton to throw an interception. I think with the cornerbacks that Philadelphia has, it's just ultimately going to be too much on him. He tends to scramble under pressure a little bit, but he's not the type to leave the pocket and go for a run. He likes to scramble around and then throw and panic and throw the ball. So I have him booking an interception.
Saints pass defense isn't horrible. They're pretty good. They just don't turn you over.
No, they don't turn you over, and so much of that is predicated on getting to the quarterback without blitzing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to keep an extra guy in there, especially that middle of the field. Maybe you can get away with that with Gardner Minshew to a greater extent. It's just with Jalen Hurts, I think that would be the biggest problem.
Right.
You know what Andy Dalton loves doing?
Checking down
touchdowns to Juwan Johnson.
Oh yeah, Juwan Johnson. He's got 7 touchdowns
in his last 8 games.
Yeah, isn't it amazing?
Right. So he went through his first 6 games without a touchdown, and then in 7 of his last 8, he has a total of 7. 2 of those games has a deuce in each of them, and you gotta ladder them, man. That
might be a prop right there. 2 touchdowns for him?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you better get it now, because as soon as Kenny gives it out on his Discord, it's going to drop by like 3,000 on FanDuel.
And that Shaheed kid is a pretty good big play guy for them.
Yeah. No, they're not. They're not atrocious here.
They're not.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on the Eagles. I haven't jumped in there. I want to get to the bowl stuff though before we go.
All right.
Because I know you're itching. And look, the NFL is a weird animal this week, where I think we just need to like Baltimore. Right. We have some weird scenarios here. The Giants, the Lions, the Falcons to a lesser extent.
Bunch of 3.5-point games.
Yeah.
Easily be 3, and you're sitting there with a favorite and end up getting beat.
I like the Packers outright. That's probably a huge public play.
I do too.
Wow.
I'm going to wait. Well, no, they're actually favored at home.
Yeah, they're favored by 3. Oh. Yeah.
We've got 4 bowl games today?
Yeah, there's 2 that interest me, and then there's 1 tomorrow that interests me. Arkansas against Kansas, I have interest in. Arkansas has got a couple of kids that are opting out for the NFL. Drew Sanders is a stud. Bumper Pool makes a lot of tackles, and their wide receiver Hazelwood are all opting out for the NFL. I look at these NFL opt-outs as guys that are big-time players. You're not opting out for the NFL draft if you're an average player. These other guys that are looking for the transfer portal are guys that haven't had enough reps or enough game time stuff. They're pissed off and they want to leave. Those guys are inconsequential. But Arkansas is going to miss 3 big players this week. Kansas, nobody. Plus 2.5. I think it was plus 4.5. It's down to 2.5. I'll take Kansas on the money line at plus 120.
Yeah, the problem, and again, you're big on this, so I'll appeal to you here, but it looks like the majority of the public tickets on the spread have been on Kansas. To your point, it's moved.
It's moved, yeah.
Correct. So I still think 2 is a key number. It's viable. My only concern in this game is that it's such a heavy public play. Doesn't that move you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it does. But
look, the public doesn't always lose.
No, right? They don't.
Say that.
They win sometimes, they still wouldn't be bringing money to Vegas.
Yeah. Look, the public loses juice. That's the biggest difference. People think, the public doesn't lose all the time. They just lose minus 110, minus 115 bets enough to where they're handing back juice. The sharp people aren't doing that. So, but they still lose. Philly Godfather's not undefeated, cuz.
Look from a motivational standpoint.
No, you're right. Like everything you say makes sense here.
Yeah.
Kansas on the money line.
I'll take Kansas money line plus 120. What the hell? Oregon against UNC. There are defensive backs out for both of these teams, starting defensive backs. And you got 2 of the best quarterbacks, at least in next year's draft, in Derek May and Bo Nix. that are looking to showcase themselves here. This is, I mean, the total screams.
It's insane.
Insane, 75. I will go over.
I was gonna say, I think the over.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
looking
gonna
at
go
first
over.
half over too.
This is the Holiday Bowl, for fuck's sake. Have you looked into the
way.
history of this game? Everybody throws for 300 yards in this game.
I'm going to go under.
Okay.
Right.
I actually had this circled here, so I'm not even like being contrarian or everything. I found it on 75 on WinBet, and then I had to drive to New Jersey to bet at WinBet. So I'm like, screw that shit. I'll just take the 74.5. Look, I could see a 65 to 68 point total. You even said it. Like, this game screamed, and I thought you were going to go under. Doesn't it scream under to you? 74.5? Like, look, I can't say much. That Texas Tech Ole Miss game is 72.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I got one for you.
And Ole Miss runs the football.
Yeah.
And it's 72.
That's what I was more surprised. All right, so I'm going to stay away from my North Carolina, Oregon total, and I'm just going to go under 72 in the Texas Tech Ole Miss game.
I'm looking forward to watching the Oregon North Carolina game now. Now that Derek May isn't transferring, there was talk that he was going to leave.
Yep. I got him today, actually, over 2.5 touchdowns, passing touchdowns.
Oh, that's a lock.
Plus money at plus 135. I feel like just for maybe quarter, half a unit on there. But I like overall the total. But just the thought of that, seeing how pass happy this game potentially can be, I think I'm going to just, sprinkle a little bit on there.
I can't wait to get the text tonight as this game is 20-13 in the third quarter. Eitan's going to be like, I hate to do it to you.
Well, I can't now. I've absolved myself because I'm not betting it. If I were the under, I'd be all over it.
Would you consider live betting this game?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I'm actually considering, it's not 14 because it's at 13.5. I was hoping I could get them at 14. I'm actually considering taking North Carolina with the points.
It was 14 yesterday, I think.
So it's dipped to 13.5.
Yeah.
It's crossed through that number, which I don't love.
Right.
But I don't know, man.
Now, before I let you guys dabble in the NBA, there's a game tomorrow. Oklahoma against Florida State. Oklahoma has had an abysmal season. Everybody knows it. New coach. It's not looking like it's heading in the right direction. They've got two of their big offensive linemen that have opting out for the NFL. These guys are top 2, top 3 round players. Their best running back has opted out, and their top defensive lineman is opted out for the NFL. Florida State is laying 9.5. It seems like a lot.
It is.
But I think they're going to come in here to just make a statement. And I like Florida State. I will lay the 9.5.
All right. Well, we'll circle that one there.
All right.
Come back to that one on Friday because I'm going to have to. Initially, I thought that was too much for Florida State, but
the game's tomorrow, I believe.
2. It's a shame that it's at 9.5. But if you could tease that down to 2,
okay. I like that.
Maybe tease that and the Mike Leach Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Mississippi State game against Illinois without their best running back.
I'll take Mississippi State with as many points as I can get.
Okay.
By the way, Ben Ross is on Arkansas.
Oh, he is?
I told him he's nuts. He happens to do this for a living, but he doesn't bat 1,000 either, cuz. All right? It's so bizarre that this is such a heavy public and sharp. It's like both are on Kansas. So I'm with you. You know what, Harry? I'm with you. Everything you laid out makes sense about betting Kansas. The only reason why I had pause is because it was such a public / sharp heavy bet.
Yeah. And
you, of all people, I was surprised are still on it, but maybe there's something there. Maybe there is something there. Okay. You convinced me.
All right. What about the NBA? I know you guys were all dazzled.
I only
NBA, honestly, we talked about the first few weeks of the season being a little rough, but we went 2 for 2 the other day. We've had a good past 2 weeks, and I'm coming back with some more today. We hit
the Brooklyn Nets the other night, right?
Brooklyn Nets +2, and they absolutely come in and spank the Cavaliers. And then I take the over 237.5 in the OKC Thunder Portland Trailblazer game, and they drop 120 apiece for us. So couldn't have asked for much better in that scenario. And tonight I am going with the Milwaukee Bucks against the Chicago Bulls. I'm going back to the Giannis Antetokounmpo double-double and Milwaukee to win. That's at plus 100 because I think that Giannis, the same scenario that we were talking about last week, when there's a center on the opposing side like Nikola Vucevic, like Jonas Valanciunas in the last case, that's going to kind of stretch the floor. I think that's going to allow Giannis to get a lot more rebounds. He seems to be in the paint as their primary paint guy with Brook Lopez out on the perimeter, and Nikola Vucevic is going to be on the same type of energy. He's not one to stay in the paint and really be banging bodies down low. So for plus 100, I think I love the Bucks alone on the money line look appetizing, and then Giannis to get double-double. This is an every night occurrence for him, so I love the value of that one.
I'm going to use everything you just said because my play is over, and I believe it's still 15.5 points for Vucevic. Because of their ability to space, because of their ability to keep him out. And I think you're going to see some more outside shots. You're going to see a concerted effort to kind of take some pressure away from Levine and DeRozan to get a third scorer there. And to your point, Milwaukee it's not a winnable strategy all the time, but at least they offer that possibility. So clearly he comes off a 10-point screwed up night against Houston. But Vooch has passed this number in 4 straight. I think he's got 20 points in 4 straight leading to that. So stretching the floor, allowing him to get some more outside shots. I like him going over his point total.
Somewhere Doug Collins is looking to fade that bet.
Doug Collins is an idiot. and I seriously, I want to go back. I got to find those WIP tapes when I used to take call after call after call warning people, they got Doug Collins back. He's the number 1 draft pick for the Sixers. Yep. That guy is an ass idiot.
All right, I got one more
about basketball than Doug Collins. Go ahead.
I'm taking the Denver Nuggets just straight up on the money line tonight against the Sacramento Kings. They're coming off of a game against the Grizzlies in which Jokic dropped 13, 13, and 13. So pretty incredible game from him. He just continues to break barriers at the center position. And I expect that same dominance to continue because the Kings don't have a true center like that, right? Like they usually like to run these 2 power forward lineups, Rashawn Holmes and, Domantas Sabonis, whether it's Harrison Barnes and Sabonis. That just seems to be their style. They do that and then 3 guards. So I'm taking the Nuggets tonight because I think Jokic is just going to dominate, a lower seeded West opponent. This just seems to be a typical, Nikola Jokic type of game. So for minus 134 on the road, I really like the Nuggets tonight.
What happened to the Sixers last night?
Joel Embiid keeps turning the ball over. And the worst time. It's seriously like the NBA is such a weird dynamic where it's the lone sport where I truly think you can have hollow numbers. And when people hear hollow numbers, I think they think of like a guy who's just overrated and sucks doing stuff. But the perfect example is you get a decent scorer on a bad team and tell that guy to take 25 shots a night. He's going to score 30 points every night. Right. Like it's the nature. They're probably going to win 8 to 12 to 15 games, like Rudy Gay on the Kings years ago. Right. So we get caught up in this. James Harden passes Mo Cheeks on assists in a game, or Joel Embiid another 50 point. But there's a reason why you're losing a game like that, and it's just turnovers, man. Turnovers are going to kill you, and it doesn't matter if you have a triple double or whatever. If you're turning the ball over at the end of the game, right, you're screwed.
Yeah,
and you look how many turnovers did the Knicks have in the final 3-minute frame?
Yep, and you look at Joel Embiid, between 3 turnovers and 5 player fouls. I mean, with 3 of those coming in the second half, that can't happen. Can't happen.
All right, good luck with everybody's bets. Thursday night football, the bowl games are starting to heat up, and we'll be back Friday for another big weekend in the NFL.